All right, this is episode 3 of B.E.A.S.T Thinking Podcast. Remember, B.E.A.S.T stands for Brain Engineering for Athletes, Students, and Teachers. And our mission is to help you engineer your brain for success. Today I have a special guest with me. This guy here is a close friend of mine. We've known each other since I was 8 years old. He was actually one of my first friends when my family moved to Florida. And it's been a awesome ride with how we've kind of come back into each other's lives. This is with the one and only Senecha P.K. Lewis.
Yes. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. So me and PK used to have a show called Inside B.E.A.S.T Athletics, but we've kind of evolved into the whole B.E.A.S.T thinking jargon. For those of you guys that don't know, he lost 170 pounds in 1 year. Started out as a 365-pound project manager for a IT company. Came back into my life and joined B.E.A.S.T Athletics. I was looking to get a change in his life, and within that year's time, lost 117 pounds.
Yes.
It was amazing. After that, he ended up losing more weight for a total of 170 pounds. He would then go on to run a 26-mile obstacle course race up a mountain.
Yes.
He would then go on, if that wasn't enough, he would then go on to win his first bodybuilding competition, placing in 2 different categories. Placing in 2 different categories, and is currently prepping for his next show.
Yes.
So, Mr. Big Time. Also, he is also the current general manager of B.E.A.S.T Athletics.
Yes.
This is GMPK.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I had to make sure people knew all of your accolades, because the weight loss, I felt like set off momentum for all the other things to happen.
Yes.
So talking about your weight loss, kind of talk about that breaking point you had, that aha moment when you knew it was time to make a change.
Right. Yeah, that's usually people's first question to me is like, so what was your turning point? What made you want to go ahead and actually lose weight? So there's a couple different things. So for me, it was like, one, I was not getting any younger. So I was like, all right, and second, of course, in my family, we have health issues on both sides. Mm-hmm. So it's from diabetes to heart disease to anything you can think of. So it wasn't, for me, it was not if I did it, it's when one or multiple of those things take place, especially going down the road I was going. Even though I was relatively healthy, even being at 365 pounds, the only thing really I did have was sleep apnea. I had borderline hypertension, but then those things are going to cause other things to take place. Right. So that was a big turning point for me. Was one, especially with sleep apnea, and I traveled and everything sometimes for work, having to take that, and then also.
So what did you have to take with you?
So I had to take a machine to actually sleep with. Mm-hmm. So when you have sleep apnea, what happens is because of one, mainly for me being such a larger guy at that time. Having that weight on my chest actually cut off my oxygen as I was sleeping. So that heavy weight actually sitting on my chest actually even pushed it even further up to actually stop me from breathing throughout the night. So and that could cause, one, death, but also many other issues where even you don't have oxygen, of course, to the brain. So then what happens is that you gasp to wake up.
Gotcha.
And that's usually, so what you have to usually have is a CPAP machine or a BiPAP machine, and you actually put that on. It's just flowing oxygen all the way through your nose and through your mouth, so you will not stop breathing at night. So because of that, I had sleep apnea. I had to now carry a machine with me through airports and different things to hotels, different places to travel, because otherwise I would not be able to have a good night rest. Otherwise, it was times where I was falling asleep. Even in the office, I could be falling asleep. I could just be sitting somewhere and falling asleep. So that was a big thing. And then, like I said, on both sides of my family, we have everything else from heart disease, diabetes, and everything. And so that was one thing that I did not want to be, susceptible to having or being able to have one of those things take place, or multiple of those things take place. So I was like, all right, so it's time, and over the years too, was many times that I said I was going to do this, but then pretty much it was every year of my birthday was pretty much my New Year's resolution time for everyone else. So it was, for me, it was, all right, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So then finally I'm like, all right, this is the time. I got to get this done. I got to actually take the step to complete it.
So being 365 pounds, I'm sure you were limited and couldn't do some things that someone that wasn't as heavy could do. Kind of talk about some of those limitations that you had.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing for me was a big thing was I'm big into roller coasters. So I always loved roller coasters. So as I continued to get bigger, there was times where it was close to, times where I was getting on a coaster and could not. That one time it was where it was hard to even for them to strap me in. So then when that took place, I was like, wow, that was almost like an eye opener. Like, man, what is going on? What in your life is now really taking place where now it's taking away things that you love? Also with traveling too, airplane seats are not that big, so even for normal people, you're still kind of cramped in there. But and I'm sure for you,
my knees are screaming when I get off the plane.
Exactly. So all that. So think about being 365 pounds, even 350 pounds, sitting in a seat and not also trying to be comfortable where you're not making someone else uncomfortable as well that has paid their money. So that was another thing too. It was like, all right, having to strap in and have the seat belts and everything and just making sure it barely closes. And so those things like that, and people don't think about it, but those are small things, but those are big things that kind of really open my eyes to be like, wow, a change needs to take place, because I love to travel. I love coasters. I love those type of things. So I'm like, all right, it's time to make a change, especially because I did not want those things to be taken away from me too.
Right. So some of the things that you love the most were getting ready to be taken away from you. So that was another thing that kind of got you into B.E.A.S.T Athletics.
Yes.
So speaking about coming to B.E.A.S.T Athletics, let's talk about your experience coming into B.E.A.S.T Athletics. Why? I'm sure you tried to lose weight other ways through other programs. Why do you think you lost weight here, other than any other place?
Definitely, and like you said, I've had gym memberships to multiple different places. I have friends that we went to the gym, and I worked out, did different things, but then did not know, at least nutrition-wise too, or have a process in place that would really make me successful, or eventually making it a lifestyle for me. So one thing I knew, that being here at B.E.A.S.T Athletics, or even coming to B.E.A.S.T Athletics, there is going to be someone that's going to push me, that's going to also get me out of my comfort zone. Because you can go to the gym, I can go to any big box gym and do my sets, but who's going to tell me to do that fourth rep? Who's going to tell me to do that fourth set? So if I was there, I was like, okay, I would go, and then if I stop, on my third set, I was like, okay, well, there's no one to keep me accountable. So, and that's the big thing when we talk about accountability, is that I knew coming into B.E.A.S.T, I was going to have an outside accountability force that was going to push me, and not only just push me to push my intensity, but also push me outside of my comfort zone a little bit to see what would take place. So then, because as I came to B.E.A.S.T Athletics and that took place, then it started opening my eyes to different things, because I saw changes taking place. So I'm like, all right, well, if this took place within this amount of time, what else can this thing do? What else can we do? What else? And then, as you saw, that's why I started up in the ante even more, running with sandbags, doing different things, running additional miles before classes, and just seeing what else can this body do. And that's where eventually I'm at the 170 pounds.
Now, before we even had you touch the turf, we sat you down in the classroom for a process that used to be called the Unleash Your Inner Beast process, but now it's called Beast Thinking. Kind of tell some of the viewers and listeners about that process and the impact that it made on you.
Yes, no, definitely. As you mentioned, it was Unleash Your Inner Beast, and in that session, pretty much talking about your things that would actually distract you, or things that would get you off course, right? So taking that, I knew a big thing that really hit home with me was when we talked about just different things that would get you off course, and that would cause you to what was the term? Drift. Yes, exactly. So, and I start thinking about those things, and start thinking about my habits and things that I was always doing, and start thinking about how can I utilize that to keep me on course. And also when we talked about putting together vision boards, not only just seeing yourself, I mean, actually almost self-brainwashing yourself and actually being able to see yourself how you want to be, not how you currently are. And that's what really was that driving force for me, because as I start to put that together and start actually visualizing where I wanted to be, not only just physically, but also, you know, in life, what I wanted to do. And that just really helped me push even more and actually make it even more of a lifestyle too.
And you hit on something that's huge that we now spend a lot of time talking about in the B.E.A.S.T thinking process, is that we all have this superpower.
Yes.
And it's called our imagination. And during the whole process of making affirmations
Yes.
and creating vision boards and even surrounding yourself around like-minded people,
Exactly.
what that really does, it gives you a more clear picture in your mind on what your future success is going to look like. And if the clearer you can see it, the more real it becomes.
Exactly. Yes.
And through science, they've shown that your brain doesn't recognize what's going on in this actual reality now or what's going on in the imagination. And so taking that a step further, what you actually were able to do is give your biology a preview of what it was going to feel like
Exactly.
to be this guy that you are now. And it felt pretty damn
yeah,
good.
no, definitely.
You know, and so I think subconsciously then that becomes a driving force,
Oh, yes.
because once you know what you can be and you know that it's possible, you stop jogging, because you can see, you stop
Right.
jogging, you start
Exactly.
sprinting,
Right.
you know, you start running with sandbags, you start doing the different things that you were doing. You were an absolute machine in here. I remember seeing you every week and pulling you into the classroom to take another updated picture, because
Definitely,
the
yes.
weight was
Right.
literally melting off of you. So my next question is going to be, statistics show that over 90% of diets don't work, they fail. Now, from a person who's done the work, both mentally and physically, why do you believe that's true for the majority of the population?
Well, I totally believe that's true because people do not make it a lifestyle, right? As you mentioned, my big thing is the word diet. I do not like that word because it usually means a start and an end, right? So people are like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, do this for 60 days or 30 days so I can get into this dress. I'm gonna do this so I can do this for this photo shoot. That's what usually they're doing it for, a quick fix. So, and usually because of that, it's not something that's usually sustainable. They try to do it really quick or go cold turkey or just cut out everything. And they don't really have a real education behind it and the whole process behind it. So once you're making it a lifestyle, you're actually ingraining it into your life. It's not something that you're surrounding your life around. You are actually absorbing it into you. So, and that's the thing. So instead of calling it a diet or I call it a meal plan, or just, it's just you, it's what you do, right? So, you know, eating if some people eat 6 times a day, you know, that's your process, that's just what you do, right? So in making that an every single day process, then now you start seeing results from that. You start either seeing muscle gain, you start seeing weight loss, you start seeing strength gains from those things, and then you fine tune those. But I totally believe that people do not stick to it, or they end up failing because it's not a lifestyle, it's just a quick fix.
And that 90% is also people that lose the weight and regain the weight back.
Right, exactly.
Which was one of my biggest frustrations at one point, being the owner of a gym, is seeing people come in, kill it, lose 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds, and gain it back. And my aha moment with that is that with the weight loss, you can get bought in, like you said, and do some of the extreme stuff and get the weight off, but what you haven't done is ingrain the right habits.
Exactly.
So you're actually getting the results before the habits are actually set in. And then once you lose the weight, those habits aren't set in, you go right back to your default way of living, and then you gain the weight back. And so we talk a lot about myelin and the myelin sheath and myelinating different processes in your brain. And so what it sounds like is to have, you know, success on any kind of weight loss program is that you have to do it over and over and over and over and over again, even after you've gotten your results, to make sure that that is hardwired into your brain, so that's the way you live now.
Exactly.
And I think your story is so amazing too, because it's been what, 3 years now?
Yeah.
3 years now? And how many days do you think you've missed the gym?
Oh, I don't even know.
In 3
usually
years, how many days off do you think
I
you've
would
had in the
say
gym?
I just started putting in a rest day.
What?
It was like, yeah, right. So
Taking
that was,
days
I
off
know,
now,
right?
man.
Well, no, not right now because of
Okay.
competition. But I said last year, for 2018, I was gonna actually put in one rest day throughout the week, but that actually didn't stop happening. But
Right.
anyway, I would say maybe a total of 5 days.
Wow.
It could be because I mean to me
Christmas.
once it right maybe no actually no I go during Christmas, but usually the thing for me it's because once again it has become such a part of my life that if I don't do it, it's not a good thing. You
feel
want to make
off.
sure right. You
Right.
want to make sure that I have gone to the gym, just because it's a part of me, and also it has become addicting. So it's one of those things that like I said, it's a part of my top 3 things that I must complete throughout the day. So that's definitely once again something that is a lifestyle change and that has ingrained, that also has made me successful in where I am, and also still going to get me to where I'm planning to go. So.
And I think too, with that, I've noticed one thing about when you work out and just your personality now, how your personality has changed since you've lost the weight, is that you're an extra rep kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
You see what the workouts on the board, but you're gonna also do a little extra. There's only a couple people in here in this gym that actually do that, and you're one of them. And how do you think that's helped you outside of the gym, that extra rep mentality?
Yes. So I think it just helps with the process of being an overachiever almost is like, so just pushing to get that next best thing, right? So not just only going for mediocre, but pushing yourself to see what else can take place. Because I mean, doing that extra rep, that could mean that's extra strength gains. Doing that extra rep means even externally, that's another network person I've connected with that you just never know what can come out of that. That's relationships built. That's all different type of things that take place. So that's what I'm always about. Just not only just doing what to satisfy that certain thing, but let's go a little bit above and beyond and see where what else can take place out of it.
And one thing we teach in B.E.A.S.T thinking too is the process of getting better at something, the process of becoming very talented or skilled at something. One of the steps is reaching.
Mm-hmm.
And reaching is like that extra
Exactly.
rep. So if your ability is right here, to get better, you got to train right here, just slightly above where that comfort zone is at. And like when I watch you train and I watch you just do your thing at B.E.A.S.T now, I can see the evolution of you because you do that little bit extra, a little bit extra. If you're talking with somebody in the lobby, you give them that little bit of extra attention, that little bit extra, a little bit extra, a little bit extra, and you're getting all that residual in return too from doing that extra. You're winning bodybuilding competitions, you're running 26-mile
Yes.
adventure runs, you're getting ready to go kill your next show and get your
Exactly,
pro
yes,
card,
definitely.
and that pro card, so that's all from doing the extra.
Exactly.
Amateurs, they do just what's required.
Mhm.
The pros, they do the extra.
Exactly.
They do the extra. Anything else? So if I'm watching this show and I'm 365 pounds, what's some advice? What would be the first thing you would tell that person to do?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is you have to make the decision and want to do it, right? I mean, it can't be from your mom saying it or your aunt or someone else telling you should do it. It has to be a driving force in you that wants to do it, because there's been many people that have come to me and are like, oh, you should talk to this person, you should talk to that person, you should do this or whatever. It's like, but here, I'm like, no, here's my card, here's my information. So when that person is ready, then that's when they take the step to do it. Because if you're being pushed to do it, then you're not going to put everything into it.
Right.
You're not going to get the success that you could if it's something that it's a driven force within you. So the first thing would be to actually own it and say this is what you want to do, and if you're going to do that, take that full step to do it. Now also second, don't look at the end goal. look at just taking the next step, those small steps. As I take those baby steps, look at it as we call it, chunking it, right?
Chunk it up. It's the next
so chunk
step.
it up a little bit.
Right.
So then you take little pieces at a time. And then before you know it, once you have done that, you've gone 2 and 3 miles already. So you're turning around and looking back and seeing how far you have already come. So a lot of people, I think that's what they do is initially like, oh, I want to really do this, and then they look at the whole, and they look at the end goal already.
Look at the whole elephant.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Instead of cutting it up a little bit and taking it piece by piece by piece, and then actually seeing their results from there and continue to move forward. But they look at it and they get discouraged. You're seeing that big obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second thing, is to really take the time, say that one, that you want to do it and put everything into it. And then also 2 is to actually cut it up into small processes, small pieces, where you can be able to take it and really absorb it and actually move forward to be able to get to your goals and get the results you're looking for.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So along this whole journey of weight loss and all the other things you've accomplished, what have you really discovered about yourself?
Yeah, so what I've discovered is that one, definitely just being even more just open with people, being more outgoing a little bit. And even though I was before, but not as, no matter what, still I think the weight did definitely hold me back from a lot of things that I could have been doing, or maybe should have done, or said, or just had the opportunities to do. But that's what I've learned too, is that no matter what, I mean, you just have to, it allows you to just be more the inner person that you really are, actually being more outgoing. That's what, at least me specifically, has pushed me and allowed me even more opportunities to do things like that. That allows me to speak, be able to connect with other people and network with people that I never thought I could be able to network with. Even being, at 365 pounds, I'm sure I could have, but it just,
you
now,
had that in the back of your mind,
exactly,
that like, they ain't gonna mess with me.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But now it's like people see me and
Right.
they're like, oh, hey, and they come to me usually,
Right.
or
Do you play football?
Yeah, right,
Do you
exactly,
play for
right,
the
right,
Buccaneers?
right, exactly. So, and just things like that, it just take actually, it almost gives the mentality, actually the thought that I am.
Somebody.
Yeah, well, somebody, but also the thing is too, a lot of people think I'm intimidating too now, and I'm like, no,
Right.
and it's like, no. Then once I start
Nicest
talking with
person
them,
in America,
exactly.
literally.
So it's like, but just once again, it just allows opportunities to be able to open up and really connect with people too, and not feel like there's a barrier because of my weight.
Right, right. So you've kind of gotten rid of that kind of mental barrier because of the weight.
Yeah, mental, and then obviously physical.
Right. Awesome. So one of my last questions is, so we have a meditative practice here at B.E.A.S.T Athletics. Do you meditate? And also, what are some of the results, or what is your take on meditation?
Yes. So yes, to answer your first question, yes, I do meditate. Maybe not as much as I should, but that's one thing I'm really even building on even more now too. But definitely, I think it's important to do that, because as we talk about, we go from various situations all day. I mean, it's things that people are presenting to us. We have things in our lives that's going on. I'm going from workouts to driving
more workouts.
to different things, to more workouts, to driving to a gym, do another workout. And then after that, going home and trying to relax too and all that.
Right.
But you have to have that. I think where meditation really comes in, it allows you to make that transition, right? So from, like we were talking about, from working out or a stressful position of even when you're coming in from stress from work or whatever, and then making a transition into trying to relax. It allows you to actually have that process in place to do that, to make that transition. So going from, like I said, from a workout to now maybe having to deal with your family in the house. So having that transition piece where you're able to calm yourself from the craziness of the work day to now being able to go home and deal with the situations that's taking place there, and not putting that all on maybe your family as well. So, but for me specifically, how it has helped me is just being able to make those transition periods where, going from a workout, being able to go home, kind of relax, and actually go from maybe sometimes a tired state to coming out of my meditation period, actually energized and way energized more than what I was before, and ready to continue on and push through the rest of my day too. Because that's sometimes, that's, as you know, of course, I do the whole intermittent fasting thing. Sometimes workouts have drained me physically and everything too. So, but that meditation process and peace actually helps me get even more energy from being relaxed and getting into that deep state of meditation, and then coming out to be able to
and what that's
a different person.
And what that's from is from when we work out, we're in that sympathetic. Our sympathetic nervous system kicks in, our adrenaline, our cortisol, all that stuff, because your body thinks it's at war. So it's like there's 300 pounds on that bar. You got to get that, baby. So you get that energy, and the music you listen to when you work out is will definitely churn up the sympathetic nervous system. And that's why I'm really big on our members trying to meditate after their workouts, because you don't want to leave the gym with that sympathetic nervous system still churning up. You have to shut it off, because it's going to, like you said, it's going to drain you after a while. You can't stay in that state for a long time. You can't stay in fight or flight for a long time. At some point, you're just going to crash. And what meditation that I've seen has done for people, it kicks on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to secrete the hormones and chemicals responsible for restoring, relaxing the body. And so now you're telling your body, I'm done being this animal, restore me, let my muscles recover, let all these chemicals that were in my body before shift over into now the chemicals of relaxation instead of the chemicals of craziness that you were in. And I've seen it. If you don't do that, you go back out into that world. Now you're combining stress on stress. When we work out, we build up metabolic stress. And then, like you said, you go home or you're stuck in traffic and somebody cuts you off. Now you're adding stress on stress, and you're making yourself sick. You're eventually going to get sick. You're eventually going to crash and burn. And so I'm really, really big on that. I worked out yesterday. It was extremely hot in here, and I was just done. And me and Caleb, the guy I was working out with, I said, Caleb, we gotta knock out a meditation. And we knocked out a good 20-minute meditation. And to this day was the best I've ever felt coming out of a workout. I didn't feel sore, I didn't feel run down, I felt restored, I felt rejuvenated, I felt like I was ready to go and take the world. Had I have tried to go do something right after that workout, I would have been drained the rest of the day. And so we have to take those times to get ourselves out of that sympathetic nervous system. Now, even if you don't work out, if you're at work and you're having a stressful day at work, when you get off work or before you go talk to your wife or go talk to your kids, take 5 to 10 minutes just to get yourself out of that hectic work state. So now that you're relaxed and rejuvenated, so that you can deal with your family without being super stressed and super irritated. So, and we didn't talk about any, woo-wee jargon. This is just meditation for living. And I posted a thing on our IG the other day, is that meditation is just mental hygiene. We got to imagine that if you're working out at a fast rate, you're doing things, you're living fast, that's like debris on your brain. And literally, when you meditate, you're removing all that debris, giving yourself a clear mind, so now you can attack the next thing. No different than us brushing our teeth. We're removing debris, we're cleaning it, and restoring our teeth to keep our teeth healthy. We got to do the same thing with the brain.
Exactly. Very true.
That was great dialogue right there.
That was.
It's going to make for good little short videos. We're rocking it. Any other thing you want to say? So here's one thing I want to start doing on the podcast is I want you to give the listeners and the viewers a challenge this week. It's Monday, so hopefully this will be posted pretty soon. But Adam's like, yeah, word to try, Tuck. You're killing it. Give the listeners and viewers a challenge this week mentally to do.
Mentally, a mental challenge.
A mental challenge this week. What is going to be their mental challenge?
Visualize themselves, not just, like you said, currently I was talking about where they are, but really start visualizing where they would like to be.
Boom.
So I know sometimes it's hard to, you said sometimes to have that imagination to really push through, and I've been in that spot too where it was hard to see it, but once you start putting things in place and so you can actually continue to brainwash yourself with it, then it makes it a lot easier. So I would say what I would really like them to do is to see yourself where you want to be, not where you currently are, and continue to look at that picture. As when you close your eyes, you automatically start to see it. That's how clear it should be. So start thinking about that and start putting that in place.
All right, you guys got it. Make sure you are using your imagination this week to see yourself at a future state where you want to see your highest representation of yourself, because this guy is definitely representing his highest representation of himself. We'll definitely post his before and after picture on here so you guys can see where he came from. But thanks for having you on B.E.A.S.T Thinking. We'll definitely have to have you back again.
Definitely.
I'm sure you're going to do some more amazing stuff that we have to brag about and tell the people about.
Definitely. No, thank you.
Can I get 2 taps?